What's up, nerds? Winstreak here. Today's video we are going to be taking a look at advanced random. So we're going to go ahead and add that object. That way we can use it inside of our project. On our board already we have a few sprites to save some time. We're looking at what I'm going to call our common drops. And those are Worn Chest, Wooden Sword, Gold, and Potion. This is going to be a quest item. And then we have 2 rare drops. And then on our board we have text, and that's just going to show us what item drops. And we're also just going to spawn it somewhere on our board. This is going to be start quest, which we'll get into later. And this is just going to be text to hold our gold value. Then we have 4 different types of enemies. We're going to have weak slimes, multi-slime, rare, and elite slime. And these are just going to show different ways that we can bring things in using advanced random. And we're going to do all this through loot tables, which is why I have different loots. So we're going to start out with, we're going to start out with some globals. I want to know how much gold I have. I'm going to copy paste that, and then I'm also going to throw in a cur drop. And this is going to be whatever is currently dropping. And we're going to change this to a string from a number because we're going to be dropping the names of our items. And on start of layout, we want to go ahead and start our advanced random table. So we're going to open up advanced random. We're going to scroll down to the probability tables, and we're going to create a probability table. And I'm going to call it loot. And also at the same time, I need to set the probability table to loot. I don't know if it auto does it, but setting it is essentially how you tell Construct what one you want running at a time. It's for if you have multiple different advanced randoms. So if I made like 6 different tables, one was loot, one was enemies, one was quest items, I don't know, stuff like that, you would set the current one and then you'd roll, and then you'd set it to the new current one on your new roll. We're just going to set it once because we're only going to run with one. And it's going to be our loot. And then we also need to add our different items to our loot table. So we will add a probability entry, and this lets us give a name and then the weight. And if you think of weight as the amount of times you've added it to the pile, so if you're drawing a number or like a ticket out of a hat and the ticket has someone's name on it, if you went in 4 times, you'd have 4 times the amount of chances as someone who went in 1 time. And with this, I'm just going to put these 4 items in at the start of layout. So we have gold, we have potion, and I'm just copy pasting these, Control C, Control V. I believe it was Worn Sword. Let's double check though. Wooden Sword, Worn Chest. And I'm going to change the weights of the items to be lower. All right, so we created our table. And currently we have 10 total weight, so 40%, 40%, 10%, 10% is how it breaks down. Now we want to interact with our slimes here. And I'm going to use a family just to make it a little easier. If you don't have families, if you don't have the paid for Construct version, you can still do this one at a time. It's just a little bit more code. But I'm going to use the family first off to put in my instance variables. And I have 3 that I want to use. I'm going to call the first one drop amount. It's going to be a number. Second one will be loop name. It's going to be a string. And then the third one is going to be weight, which will also be a number. And then we can close those, and that gave all of my different slimes those instance variables, and now I can change them individually to ensure that I'm not affecting the other ones. So we'll leave green as it is. We're going to change blue to drop amount 3. And from there, we will jump into our event sheets, and I'm going to add a function. And this function is going to be called drop loot, and I'm going to call it every time I want loot to drop. And it's going to take in some parameters. And one will be loot name, which will be a string. And we're going to add 2 more, one for the weight, which will be a number, and one for the drop amount. And of course, those all match these, at least close enough. They do actually match all together. So now when I call this, I can send in the values, and it allows me to use the values of each of my slimes. So to interact with this, we're going to use an on-click. So I have keyboard and mouse objects added, which allows me on click from the mouse and object. And I'm going to say family 1, which is all my slimes. If you don't have families, you will have to do individual for each type of slime. And we're going to call a function, which is drop loot, our only function. And we're going to send in family1 dot loot name, family1 dot weight, and family1 dot drop amount. Then we'll destroy the slime. And we want to make sure we do this before we destroy it, because once we destroy the slime, we lose all this information. But as long as we call it first, aka on top, it'll have all the information to send into the function, and it will run all this before it destroys it. So now when we call this function drop loot, we are going to need to set our current drop. So set value current drop, and we're going to set this to advanced random dot weighted. And this is going to give us a instance of one of our polls here that I can recall again. So if I just grab this advanced random dot weighted each time, it'll be different each time. So I want one that I can reference multiple times until I finish working with this instance. And hopefully I can make that a little more clear here as we move on. But we're going to set current drop to hold whatever value it pulls from our weighted. And then add blank sub-event. We can say if value equals, so compare two values, and that's cur drop. If it is equal to gold, we want to add a random number to our gold value because we found gold. So add to gold. And this will give us 1 to 10. And we can do this for the other 3 drops that we have on the left here, because those are always going to be options. So we got potion, and we have worn chest, and wooden sword. Verify those names because these do need to match exactly. They are case sensitive as well. And they're looking good. And then obviously we don't want to add gold to those. And before I move on too far, we're going to add an extra event here. And it's just going to be in every tick. We want to set our text for gold to show our gold. I'm just going to move that up and out of the way. And then each one of these, I want to verify what I'm actually getting by throwing something in the text here. So we're going to do that by setting our text to cur drop, which is what we named our current drop. And instead of doing this for each one, I can actually just put one of them up here, and we just make sure we do it after we set cur drop. And this will make it happen 100% of the time, whereas these only happen if I roll gold or potion or worn chest, which means I'd have to add this every time I create a new option. So this one will add the gold, and then the other ones we need to create an object. And this one's potion. We'll create object potion. And I'm just going to randomly throw it somewhere on the board. Oops. And I'm going to copy paste this and throw it down because it is the base of what I want. I just need to change the actual item that it brings out. So that's worn chest. And this one is wooden sword. So if we hop into our game now, we can click this. We see worn chest. It's weird that it dropped right there. It's pretty much randomly almost throughout the whole board. That one dropped gold, and we can see our gold went up. That one dropped gold. Gold went up again. A little more. Another worn chest. Gold. Potion. Gold and worn chest. Now in an actual game, you'd want these to either go straight into your inventory or have them be lootable when your character runs over them. I just don't have a character or an inventory. This is just to show that it is able to use this to create the actual item. I just don't work with it in this code. And of course, the other slimes can also drop these items, but they don't do anything special yet. So we're going to move on to the blue slimes, which are called multi-slimes. And click on these. Oh, I did this dumb. So if you have multiple instances of the same enemy, in this case object, and you change one of the variables, it's only going to change that single one. If you click up here, it's how you change all of them at the same time. So now they all have 3s. And they will also send in no loot name and no weight value. And I'm going to add a system rule up here called repeat. And it's going to start out as actually drop them out. We're going to repeat this drop them out times. And now I'm going to go into all of my slimes. We're going to set that to 1. That way it starts out with drop them out always being 1. And now I'm going to click on my multi-slimes and change that to 3 again because I reset it to 1. So now my red, my yellow, and my green slimes are all 1, and my multi-slimes are 3. And we see no difference with the green slime, which is what we want. And I have to make one more edit in order to show all of the text that we need for the 3 drops at a time. So each time we set the text, it deletes the old one and puts our current one. So if we run this 3 times, it's only going to show us the last one. So what we actually want to do is append text. And then add a new line, that way the next one goes on the next line. But this will go on forever. So we also want to, at the start, set the text to nothing. So every time this is called, we will blank out our board, and then no matter how many times we call this, we will add a new line of whatever dropped. So should see no difference on the greens. Hit a blue, and we can see all 3 items that dropped. And we also see them get spawned. So that is how you add can add multiple drops from a single enemy. And next we are going to add a rare item to yellow. And we are going to give it the name of Blade of Truth. And just a heads up, in here, you're already looking at a string. You do not want to add quotes here. That'll break it. You want to have it be exactly what the name of the item is. So you would essentially just copy, paste that in, which means no quotes. And if you do add quotes, it won't match when you come down to this system where you're comparing your current drop. And then we need to put a new one down for our Blade of Truth. So I'm going to copy paste this last one. It's the closest. It's close enough to save us some time. And we just got to change the name. Blade of Truth. And we just got to change the object as well. Done, done. And then we need a weight. Otherwise, we're adding a weight of 0, which means it can never be found. We'll give it a weight of 2. Actually, we'll give it a weight of 10. That way it's a very large chance of dropping. Not something you'd want to do for a rare item, but in this case, to show it's actually working, we want it to happen. We only have 3 chances. So gold, gold, potion. Let's run that again. Wooden sword, potion, gold. We're going to bump this up again. 100, that means it has over 90% chance to drop. So I might be doing something wrong here. Let's take a look at the code. Yeah, we never set anything. So in here we need to add our new item. Just like we added the original 4 up here. But this one we want to be temporary. So at the start of drop loot, we will add it with add entry. And the name is going to be loot name. And the entry weight is going to be weight, which is why I sent them in. And it is important that this happens before you set your current drop, because otherwise it won't be an option. And then one last thing we need to do, we'll right click this, add a blank sub event. And I'm just going to copy paste this, it's close enough. We'll go in here, hit back once, and then remove probability, done. So whatever we added, we want to remove down here, because we don't want this to stay active when you're killing other slimes. So whenever you click a rare slime that adds something, it will be there for that one chance and then go away afterwards. So we can see we have no Blade of Truths dropping. Now we do. Blade of Truth. It's again over 90% chance, so it's going to mostly always drop. And again, back to no Blade of Truths. So huzzah, that is working great. And we will move on. Here we have our start quest. So we will do a on-click event and on-click object. And if we click on start quest, it begins the quest. Huzzah! So we are going to allow quest items to drop. Which means I'm going to add the entry. Make sure I spell it right. Quest item with a 5. Now this means these are now out of 15. So this has a 33% chance, but it lowers all the other ones' chances that they used to have. So 40 went down to 25, 30? Yeah, somewhere in that area. You could also do this with having, if start quest is active, a second drop, which automatically allows each enemy kill to drop your normal loot, as well as a chance to drop your quest item. But just to show that it works, I'm just going to keep doing it through my single drop. And quality of my game be damned, because I'm not actually making a game. So once this starts, we add this loot. And I'm going to add a global quest completion. And we will do a compare statement here. If quest completion is greater than or equal to 100, we are going to remove this, because once we're done, we don't want to be able to find quest items anymore. So, same as last time, just copy pasted the ad and went back and changed it to remove, and that ensures we get the same name in each of them. So I actually remove it correctly, and then I need to come back in here and add the ability to compare for our quest items. So I'm just going to copy paste this last one. Current drop equals quest item. And we'll create an object called quest item. And additionally, I am going to add to quest completion a random int between 5 and 14. So, let's add another text box so we can actually see our quest completion. And right on every tick set text for gold, we're going to do the same thing for quest completion. All right. Not labeled very well, but the bottom one is our quest completion. The top one is our gold. And click through a few. Nothing to do with quests happening. Go ahead and click this. Nothing tells us that it started, but it should have started. And we found our first quest. 3 more. And this is not going to get completed in time. So we're going to do something a little more extreme. We're going to go back into these multi-slimes and give them 8 drops. And then we're also going to bump this quest completion up to 15 to 24. And this will ensure, start the quest, that we get enough, 64, 163. Now the thing here is we gained all of these on one kill, and we don't check again to remove it until after we get out of this repetition. So we kept coming back in here, finding more, and now that we're done, we come into here and we remove it from an option. So now I can't get any more. But it does not stop you from going over exactly 100, which is a good reason why we always do equal to or greater than. And that pretty much wraps it up. This should allow you to create any type of loot tables that you need for your game. If you have any questions, concerns, especially about getting this to run on the free version, let me know in the comments. I will be happy to help you out. Otherwise, peace.